Let's see how to customize floors. We select the floor, and the simplest way is to go to the right-hand window to the Material option and click on the material that is currently on the floor. On the left, the Materials option opens. By moving the mouse over them, we will already see the materials laid. We choose solid wood floor, and we see some wooden floors with different laying patterns. We choose one, and we see it applied to our floor. If we want to rotate the texture, we can, by pressing the spacebar, rotate it by 45 degrees, or we can enter the rotation angle directly in the right-hand window at the position, Rotation Angle option. We can change the size of the texture with the Scale option. We can scale either horizontally or vertically, or we can link the two dimensions so that the change is applied simultaneously. We can enter values. If we want a smaller texture, we must enter a decimal value. If we want to remove the texture just applied, we can do it with the Cancel key, and we return to the starting position. We can do the same thing by selecting the floor. On this floating window, choose Change Floor Material. The same thing happens. We can, however, push ourselves to an advanced level of customization by selecting the floor and choosing from the floating window the Tile Flooring option. Our floor appears, which we can also divide into areas to which we can assign different materials. We see that the first thing proposed is a window with various types of laying schemes. When we have chosen a laying scheme, we can act both on the dimensions, which are expressed in millimeters, and on the color of the tiles. We must select the tiles and choose a material. In this way, the material will be changed. Then, on the surrounding area, we can assign another type of laying. We can also rotate it with the spacebar, and we can always change the dimensions. Obviously, we can change the material of these tiles. When we have finished, we must press the Finish and Back button. If we want to delete this texture, we press the Crunch button. We can also do more complex operations. Tile flooring, use of guidelines. I enter a value. I draw a rectangle. I use the Offset key. I give a value, again offset, and I choose the textures. I choose the texture for this area. I rotate the texture. I change the size, I want to make it smaller. I choose other textures for the other areas. I resize the texture. I can rotate it. I choose the same texture for this area and also for this one. I can use the same values. Rotate it. I can insert a border strip. And in this way, we have created a central rug with a herringbone laying, while on the outside we have a running bond laying. This line we can delete. As we don't need it, we click Finish and Back and we check the work. Now let's see how to customize ceilings. We must choose the ceiling option to click. And at this point, what we see in two-dimensional view are the ceilings. We select one and then, in the floating window, we choose the Customize Ceiling option. Here we can work both in 2D and in 3D. The first thing that appears on the left are preset ceilings. For example, this one, which allows us to have a border that can be single or double or even triple. We can also decide the dimensions, that is, the width of this perimeter. We enter a value. Let's try to enlarge it and the height. Here it is set to 15. Let's go see in 3D what happened. Let's go back to 2D. If we want to undo the ceiling just inserted, we select it, and by means of the Cancel key, we can return to the starting situation. We can subdivide the areas in a customized way. We can help ourselves with guidelines and make a frame like the one we inserted in the floor. We put the value. We take the rectangle. We also use here the offset command. We enter a value and we have created distinct areas. These we can also delete. We select the line and use the Cancel key. And so we have this external area and this internal area. We can decide, through the extrusion box, how much to drop the individual areas. For example, we want to drop the external area to create a dropped ceiling in this position, and so we can enter the value 20. Also, in this area, the extrusion box is present, but we leave it at 0. Let's go check in 3D what we have created. We see that we have a ceiling with a central frame and a perimeter drop ceiling. Let's go back to 2D and see other options. If we want to insert a light line, we do like this. We choose in the options light band. We take this, go to the area and click. We press the ESC key and we see that a light line has been inserted, which we can size as we like and also bring to the desired height. We know that this drop ceiling is 20, so in the Edge A option we enter the value 20. In this way, we bring the light band to the height of our drop ceiling. And we can also widen this dimension. We can decrease it or increase it. When we make a render, we will be able to notice that this ceiling contains a light line. We will do it right after by making a test render. Let's go to 2D. We can also insert other light fixtures. We can insert some spots in this area. We choose ceiling and piles. We look for this, select it, place it, and we see that Home Styler allows us to center the spotlight directly in the width of the ceiling to which we apply it. Let's try inserting another spotlight. This one also gets centered, and if we insert a third one, we see that it is centered, equidistant between the other two. Let's go to 3D and see the spotlights placed on the ceiling. The floating window can be moved. We see that Home Styler directly recognizes the height of our ceiling. If we want to quickly check the effect of the lights we have inserted, we can make a test render. First of all, we select Complete Ceiling. Choose the Render Normal Image option. We stay on the 1K resolution, which is very fast and allows us to do all the tests we want. We choose the framing that allows us to see all our lights. Here, on the right-hand window, we can check in which position we have placed the camera and also move it. Therefore, we have different movement options, either with these arrows or also with the mouse. We can tilt, and we can also lower ourselves through the height key. Or from the keyboard with the Q keys and the E key to lower ourselves. We can therefore tilt to see the effect of the ceiling. We choose an ambient lighting option, night type. We don't select other things, we just launch the render quickly. We can resize this, and at this point we wait, but not for long, just a few seconds. We can see our LED line in the central window. We can also adjust these lights. We'll see these options later, but right from the start, they allow us to monitor the type of work we are doing. Using the Light Mix option, we can adjust these lights using the sliders on the right. We can turn them on or off. We can see ceiling lamps. We can increase the brightness and also change the color temperature. If we are satisfied with the lighting setup, we click Save. Wait for the light mix, and then we see the image we have created. Anyway, this was just a test render. Let's exit the render option and go back to our model. Now let's see how to customize the walls, still in 3D. We select a wall. On the right, we have these options: pattern, material, baseboard, and molding. Let's try the material option. Once selected, the list of available materials opens on the left. By moving the cursor, we can preview the materials automatically applied. Let's go to Wall Material, where under Wall Paint we have a palette of colours to choose from, for example, this one. Sometimes adjacent walls are shown as connected to each other. My advice is, to customize the wall, click Disconnect so we can always select one wall at a time. At this point, we can decide to have a baseboard. We select it, and a default skirting board appears. With the Q key we can move it up, and with E we can move it down. We can choose both the style and the material. If we only want to change the material and keep this baseboard model, we click Material and look for the material we want. For example, this one. We can change the size, make it higher or lower. We can also change the model among the ones available. Several models appear. Let's choose a simple one. Now we see this other baseboard model. Similarly, if we want to add a moulding, we activate the moulding option. This moulding appears and, once selected, allows us to change its size. At this point, we've assigned a colour to the wall, a baseboard and a moulding. We select the wall and click Apply all settings to all walls. Applying the colour, moulding and baseboard. As we can see, all the walls now have the same colour, baseboard and ceiling moulding. Let's look at other wall customization options. We select a wall and want to draw panels to which we can apply mouldings and possibly assign different colours from the rest of the wall. We select the wall and click Customize Wall. The wall appears, showing dashed lines indicating the height of the ceiling, moulding and baseboard. Using these guidelines, we can start entering values to create our panels. I'll enter some example values that everyone can personalize. Now we take the rectangle tool and draw these panels. Press the ESC key. As we can see, there are also extrusion boxes here, like the ones we've seen before, which allow us to create raised areas. For example, let's use the Offset tool again. We set a value for this offset and make a slight extrusion. Let's apply it to the other panels too. Applying the same extrusion values. Now we add mouldings. We choose a decorative moulding around this perimeter. My advice is to switch to 3D view because it's much clearer what we're doing. So we choose the decorative moulding, check the dimensions, zoom in and decide where to place it inside or outside the frame. It's very simple. We choose to place it here. We can stop or add another one. We can assign different colours to each area. To select a single area, we need to use the Control key, hold it down and click the desired area. We select the portion of the wall we want to decorate. It appears with dotted lines. We go to Material and choose the material we want. If we want to assign the same colour to other parts, we can use the Material Brush tool. Select Material Brush again, pick this colour and apply it to the mouldings and inner panels. With Material Brush, we can also assign colours to other objects, such as the central panel of the ceiling. Just like we applied colour, we can also apply other types of textures, for example wallpapers. In this case, we can change the wallpaper pattern size. We can rotate it, move it, or scale it. These are just a few examples, but the possibilities are truly endless. When we're done, we click Complete Customize Wall. We return to Customize Wall to see how easily we can also change the size of what we've drawn. Simply by dragging, we can resize the panels or move the mouldings. The panel moves together with its mouldings. To be precise in what we do, we can use guidelines, so when we select an edge and drag it holding the left mouse button, we can snap it to the guideline. We can go back by repeatedly clicking Undo until we return to the original position. Of course, if we want to redo the entire wall decoration, we click Cancel and everything disappears. I'd like to note something. Homestyler recognizes two adjacent walls as a single surface. So when we select the Customize Wall option, we can work on the entire wall composed of two connected walls. We can check this. If we switch to 2D view, we can see in the plan that we have two walls, this one and this one. But Homestyler recognizes that we're treating them as a single surface. This means that when we want to enter the wall customization mode, the one we saw earlier for adding a baseboard or moulding, we must select a single wall, not both connected ones. For this reason, we need to use the Disconnect Surface button so the two wall portions become separate. Only in this mode can we activate the moulding or baseboard options. Otherwise, if the walls are connected, these functions are not available. If any of the options we added to the walls don't convince us, we simply press Cancel to return to the initial settings. We can also delete individual portions of the baseboard or ceiling moulding. This, for example, allows us to make one wall have a completely different material. If we want to restore both the baseboard and the ceiling moulding, we must select the baseboard from another wall and click Apply to Current Room, and do the same for the ceiling moulding. So, we've covered an overview of all the main possibilities for wall customization.